And you have your online audience. Always. All right. So I'll go. All right. We're good to go. There you go.
Are we broadcasting?
Yes.
All right. Hello. I hesitate to say everybody, but hello. Yes. Hello, everybody at home watching. Yes. Hi. My name is Mark Terry, and I am the Executive Director of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change's Youth Climate Report. Okay. This is a digital database of short documentary films created by young people from around the world. Currently, there are more than 1,000 such videos in the database, and they're all created by young people aged 18 to 35. That's the way the United Nations defines youth these days. And every film is approximately 3 to 5 minutes. The films tell stories of climate research, climate impacts, and climate solutions in various parts of the world. Now, this workshop today is to show you how you can make your own short documentary films and make a direct contribution to this UN project. Okay? So I'll give you a bit of background. This is what it looks like when you find it online. You can just Google United Nations Youth Climate Report or use that handy little URL that I put up there for you. And it goes back to 2011. This is actually kind of a very old program. The UN issued a mandate to make its annual climate summits more accessible to the global community of youth. A participatory program known as the Youth Climate Report was created, giving young people the opportunity to file video reports of climate stories from their home communities. In 2016, the program developed a geomedia platform that you can see over there. It looks like a GIS map, right? And allowing UN policymakers to access a vast database of youth-produced videos in one digital space. Today, there are more than 1,000 videos on the GIS map representing youth-produced climate documentaries from all 7 continents, and that includes Antarctica. The Youth Climate Report works with NGOs, governments, universities, and other environmental organizations to train groups of youth through a series of in-person and remote workshops, like this one. So participants can produce films in the style preferred by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. These films are then reviewed by the UNFCCC, and those approved are added to the YCR database and showcased at that year's COP conference. So if you are interested in making a film this year, just know there's a very good chance it'll be presented at a series of press conferences and side events at COP29 this year. Now, this is the satellite view of the same project. And again, I provided an abbreviated URL there for you that you can use. This is a Google Earth representation of the entire planet. And all those little colorful pins that you see there, they represent a different video that was produced by a young person all over the world. The colors represent the year of production, and that comes in handy for data analysis, which I'll explain a little further later on. So why do we use geomedia? Why is a geographic information system map an important platform for this database? Well, in addition to serving as a platform for a database of documentary films from around the world, the GeoDoc, and that's what we call this kind of platform, provides 2 dimensions that allow for enhanced analysis, time and space. Films added to a GeoDoc project with the year of production in its metadata can be compared temporally with each other. This allows for analyzing rates of change among similar stories in the same place, like the rate of glacier decline in the Arctic, for example. Spatial analysis can also be made by comparing the data in similar stories from film units in different places. Glacier decline in the Arctic, glacier decline in Antarctica. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. if you did a temporal analysis of this particular glacier from Alaska, and you saw in one clip, the still frame from 1941 shows a very healthy glacier, right? And then in another film showing the exact same glacier in 2004, it's no longer there. It's melted. So the new data that you can derive from this comparison is that in the course of 57 years, almost 60 years, a very strong and healthy glacier in Alaska has disappeared completely. Now, what's interesting is neither film says that. Okay, the explicit narratives of each film does not talk about the rate of decline. Only after you relate them to each other temporally do you get a implicit narrative and new data. Now, spatial analysis. Here we have a picture of the Petermann Glacier in Greenland in the Arctic in 2015. Now we look at the exact same year in Antarctica, and we see a block of ice from the Pine Island Glacier, okay, on the west coast of Antarctica. Now we see that one of them has a piece of ice that's 5 times the size of Manhattan, and the one in Antarctica is 2.5 times the size of Manhattan. So what new data can we derive from a spatial analysis of these two glaciers? Anybody? Okay, I'll tell you. The glacier decline in the Arctic is twice as much as that in Antarctica. Okay, so the rate of melt, you could say, is twice as much as it is in Antarctica. Once again, neither film says that. But when you relate them to each other, this time spatially, the new data emerges. Okay, so this is the value of the unique affordances of a geodoc project. So this is a unique partnership between the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the International Youth Conference. We are partnering for the first time this year so that anybody watching or anybody participating in the conference this year that wants to make a film based on what we train you with in this workshop, you can contribute it to the project. The UN will review it, and it can be updated to the YCR database and showcased at COP29 this November. This is, like I say, the first of an annual partnership. So if you miss out this year, you can do it again next year. So this year's workshop, in partnership with IYC, represents the first global workshop for the Youth Climate Report. It also represents the first in an annual program of training for participants of the International Youth Conference. So beginning today, IYC and YCR will launch an annual program for all youth aged 18 to 35 throughout the world to participate in the United Nations Youth Filmmaking Program. Those who complete the program will receive a certificate of achievement and have their films added to the UNFCCC database and showcased at the annual climate summit each year. Okay, let's get into the actual project. You will produce a 3 to 5 minute documentary film on a topic of your choice relating to climate change research, impacts, or solutions. Your story can take place anywhere in the world and incorporate footage shot by you or your team or sourced online from recommended sources. You can use your phone or any other video capturing camera as well as Zoom. Zoom comes in very handy when you want to do an interview with a scientist on the other side of the world. Rather than fly over there to interview them, you can just do it by Zoom. Okay. You must interview at least one subject, a professor, a scientist, an activist, or an individual impacted by climate change, or a government official. You have to have at least one interview in your film. You may also provide a voiceover narration telling your story with visuals, such as photos or video. Sometimes people prefer to do that, and some of those videos are very effective as well. So here are some of the key dates. You might want to take a picture of this slide, or if you're really good at writing things down quickly. The workshop is today, June 1st. You don't have to write that one down. The submission of your film, the deadline is August 15th. Yeah, there you go. Happy birthday. So you got 2.5 months to make a 3-minute film. Okay, lots of time. Review by the partnership team here at IYC is August 15th to August 29th. Then project revisions, if required, from September 1st to September 15th, my birthday. And then a review by the United Nations, September 16 to September 30th. And then upload to the YCR database will take place between October 1st and October 25th. And finally, a showcase of your film at COP29, November 11th to 24th. Okay, so I'll give you a second to write all those dates down or take a picture of the slide. You good? Okay. Program objectives. Why are we doing this? Well, the first thing is to empower youth, to equip young minds with the resources and skills through capacity building workshops such as this, enabling them to be proactive contributors to global solutions. Inclusive dialogue. Encourage participation from marginalized and underrepresented youth, ensuring diverse voices, concerns, and insights shape the conversations and outcomes. Innovative solutions. To facilitate the development of groundbreaking ideas and strategies to further global cooperation and the Sustainable Development Goals. Global collaboration. Cultivate partnerships between young individuals, governmental bodies, NGOs, and private sectors to synergize efforts towards shared principles and goals. And finally, strengthening the Alliance for the Future. Strengthening the Alliance for the Future, AFF, to empower global youth in contributing to the United Nations mechanism and framework. Okay, so your films are actually serving a purpose. You're not just making them and hoping someone will watch them. They are provided to a database that's used as a resource by the policymakers and negotiators who attend the COP conferences. Now, in case you're wondering, will they actually use it? Will they really look at it? I've been going to every COP conference since 2009. And since I presented this project, I can provide testimony that they actually do use it. I even did some research and calculations, and about 17% of all the delegates that attend a negotiation session have the project up with the headsets on, and they're watching the videos as they discuss the policy. So you really are making a direct impact. Okay, production techniques. I'm going to give you a bunch of techniques that the UN prefers that you employ when you're making your film. First of all, the camera. Camera can be almost anything. Tablets, phones, laptops, or any digital camera can be used, but please remember to shoot horizontally or landscape. This is the standard layout for documentary film footage. We're not making a TikTok here, okay? So make it horizontal. So in other words, yes, this is good, and no, that's not good. All right? This orientation fills the screen and looks more professional for the UN policymakers who, remember, will be watching your films on their laptops, not their phones. Okay? Interview subject framing, the rule of thirds. Has anyone heard of the rule of thirds in film? Yeah, I see a lot of nodding heads, a lot of film students here. Very good. Okay, well, you see the picture there. There's some grid lines on it. And you see that there's 2 sets of thirds from top to bottom and from left to right. Okay? So we want you to frame your interview subject from the chest up, like this guy here, and place them on either side of the left or right side of the frame, occupying 1/3 of the frame. Have them look in the direction of the empty space at the interviewer who is standing on the opposite side of the camera. Okay, that way his eye line is crossing the lens. All right. Now, if you're using Zoom, ask them to position themselves and/or their camera to accommodate this framing style. Eye line and placement. Stand next to your camera on the opposite side of the placement of your subject. For example, if they are framed to the right, you stand on the left. This is so their eye line will cross the lens as they look at you when they respond to your questions. Okay. Now the lower third. This space usually refers to the area where you place your subject's name and title. It's meant to be placed in the empty space opposite your subject at the bottom of the screen, the lower third. Like this. Here we have Dr. Joseph Expert from the University of Ultimate Knowledge. So you see it's opposite where he is. This creates a visual balance for your frame. Okay. And be sure to use a sans serif font. Okay. In any kind of digital media, with the exception of celluloid film, always use sans serif font, because if you use a serif font like Times Roman, the little endy things on every letter gets washed away by the digital representation. Okay, so you don't want to have any little serifs. So use sans serif font. Audio recording. Whenever possible, use an external microphone to record audio, not the built-in camera mic. This can plug into your iPad, phone, or video camera and comes in the form of a lavalier. I've got pictures of them here, to be clipped to your interview subject shirt, or a handheld microphone such as this one. Tripod. Tripod is very important in creating a stable image. So many people think that they can just hold their camera up and walk around and film things, but what happens is you get this horribly shaky image that the viewer often gets a little nauseous watching. So even for your phone or your iPad, use a tripod. Whenever possible, use a tripod to keep your video image stable. If you don't have a tripod, rest your camera on a table or some other steady surface. Sometimes young filmmakers like to shoot outdoors. And if you don't have a tripod, rest it against a rock or something. Okay. Handheld cameras often record shaky or unstable images. A-roll and B-roll. Are you familiar with these terms? Are you? Okay. Well, A-roll, the footage of your interview subject is your A-roll, and the other footage you shoot is your B-roll. B-roll is often used to cover your interview subject and to show what they're talking about. If you don't have the footage you want, you can source video clips and photographs from Wikimedia. Now note the spelling of that. It's not Wikipedia, it's Wikimedia. Or Pixabay. You can download these video files for free. There's no charge. So you look at the two pictures here. The A-roll shows the interview subject, and he's an expert in the relationship between birds and whales. Now you could just run the A-roll all the way through, and that'll be kind of boring, seeing some talking head going on and on and on. But what you want to do is cut away to other video footage of what he's talking about. So this is the B-roll, the picture here. When he talks about birds and whales, we actually see a video clip of birds and whales. It's much more interesting. Narration. If you want to narrate your film with your own voice, you can do that. After you edit the video, you can record your voice reporting on your research on a separate audio track and add it to your film's timeline when you edit. Now you can do this right with your own phone. You just bring yourself into a very quiet space, right? Make sure there's no ambient noise, and hit the voice memo little app on your phone and record the narration that you want. And then you'll have the audio file. Be sure your audio is clean. Record in a quiet place with no ambient noise using the voice memo app on your phone. Music. When no one is speaking, the narrator or the interview subjects, music fills the void, and when used properly, can create a mood and engage audiences emotionally. Stock music without singing is best for this purpose. And there's lots of free music sites online, but look for those with a Creative Commons license. They can be used for this purpose. Now, what we like to recommend, of course, is YouTube Music. And there's a free music library available on YouTube, and there's the link for it. Okay, again, I created an abbreviated link for you, tinyurl.com/YouTube Music 2024. If you click on that, you'll have thousands and thousands of music clips that you can import for your own film at no cost. Content. As I mentioned earlier, your story will address climate research, impacts, or solutions anywhere in the world. Interview experts in this field as well as those impacted by climate change. Now, you might be living here in Los Angeles, but you really want to tell a story about what's happening in, I don't know, Ghana, right? So you don't have to go to Ghana. You can interview experts that are there, even victims of climate impacts that are there. You can do that through Zoom. You have a video of that. And then you can get the Pixabay to provide some B-roll footage. You can make your whole film about Ghana without ever having to go there. You can interview anyone in the world using Zoom and recording your session. Delivery. Okay, let's say you've made your film, you followed all these instructions, and you have a finished film. How do you deliver it? Well, first of all, you post it on YouTube and set it as public. Okay. In the YouTube description, provide the film's title, the director name or names, the name of the location, that's the town, the city, or the community. And this is very important, the longitude and latitude coordinates of where your story takes place. This becomes very important in order to upload it to the GIS map. Now, if you don't know how to find the longitude and latitude coordinates, it's quite easy. Just go to Google, type in the name of the place, and add the words long and lat. The first thing that comes up will be the coordinates. This information will be used to situate your film on the UN's Youth Climate Report. And also add a one-sentence synopsis of your film. Okay, just to recap that, make sure you include the film's title, the director names, the location, town, community, city, the coordinates of where it is, a one-sentence synopsis, okay? So when you do all that, your post on YouTube should look like this. There's a thumbnail of your story, and here at the bottom, I'm just going to blow that up for you so you can read it better. You have the title, you got the filmmaker, you got the coordinates, and the one-line synopsis, the story. Okay, so that's how it should look before you send it into the UN. I don't know, can I? There you go. Okay. So there you go. And make sure you set it to public. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, you have to add tail credits. This is where you acknowledge the people that helped you on the film. Acknowledgements to everyone who participated in the making of your film on camera and off. But don't thank your parents or your dog and that silly stuff, okay? Only the people that actually made a direct contribution to the making of the film. And add this is important for IYC, this particular quote that says, made as part of the International Youth Conference 9, University of California, Los Angeles, USA. Now, next year, wherever IYC is going to be, you will adjust that sentence to reflect where IYC is next year. Okay, now acknowledge the sources of all your B-roll and your music, even if you get it from YouTube or from some other source. Okay, it doesn't have to just be created by you to be acknowledged. You always have to acknowledge the source. This applies to even material with a Creative Commons license. Now, where your films will be shown. Let's assume that you completed the film according to all the instructions here, and you send it in, and the UN gives you a big thumbs up, and they add it to the GIS map and the Google Earth three-dimensional satellite view. The next thing is how it's going to be shown. So the first one, of course, is the Youth Climate Report. Pending approval of the UN, your films will be added to the YCR database, an interactive GIS world map used as a resource by policymakers worldwide during the COP conferences. The next one here, of course, is IYC. A select number of films made this year will be showcased at the 10th International Youth Conference at a date and location to be announced. And finally, it will be here at COP29. In addition to being used as a data delivery system, a select number of films made this year will be showcased at the UN's annual climate summit, COP29, held this year in Baku, Azerbaijan, November 11th to 24th. Okay, so this is an excellent way for you to make a direct contribution to the policymaking process with the United Nations. The film you make stands in as a surrogate. And because you've made the film, if you can find a way to get to COP, if there's funding available for you to actually attend, you can participate in the press conferences and the other presentations of the film. Okay? So if you want to see samples of some of the films made by the other youth around the world on the Youth Climate Report, here are some websites for you. There's the UN's website, tiny.cc/UNFCCC. UNESCO has a site for it. It's there. And Google Earth, the satellite view I showed you, use that URL to access that. And finally, the website for the project is youthclimatereport.com. Social media. I encourage everyone here and everybody watching at home to please subscribe, smash that like button and all that stuff, right? So here we go. That's the Instagram handle, Facebook, X or Twitter, and YouTube. Okay, so please subscribe, build those numbers up. And whenever there is an update from the UN relating to your film project, this is how you'll get a notification. IYC has its own social media, as you know. You're probably using it this weekend. Instagram is that. Facebook is that. It's usually all IYC for youth. There you go. Same with Twitter, X, and YouTube. Okay. Now, you're probably wondering what these films look like. They range in style and content, of course, from country to country, from year to year. But I selected one that was made in the US here, since we're in the US. So I just want to give you a rough look at one of these films and see what it looks like. Hopefully you'll find it a little inspirational. There we go. Powerful stuff, eh? Isn't that a great little film? Now, you see, the style that she took was a personal story, very personal story involving her sister. And she put herself on camera and narrated the entire film. Her use of music was very subtle. And when she was speaking, the volume drops. When she wasn't speaking, the volume came up. Okay. And all that beautiful footage of rhinoceros and lions and leopards and things, she did not go out and shoot that. No, she's very smart. She wouldn't take that risk. But she got the B roll from Pixabay. Okay. And you stitch it all together in a very nicely well written narration. And it becomes a very powerful film. Okay. So that's just an example. There are many, many more. In fact, there is more than 1,000 on the YCR database. So I encourage you to go and check them out. They represent all 7 continents, including Antarctica. We have quite a good student representation, believe it or not, telling stories of climate change in Antarctica. And if you want to know a little more about all this, I wrote a book on it. It's called Speaking Youth to Power, Influencing Climate Policy at the United Nations. And IYC has a very special exclusive discount that the publisher was kind enough to donate. By the way, I don't see any of this money. Okay, you're not doing me a favor by buying the book, but you will do yourself a favor because I think they're giving you 40% off, almost half price. So just go to link.springer.com to place your order and use that horrible discount code that is almost impossible to read, but I'll try for you. It's FH capital Z or Z, T2, that's an O, not a 0, capital H, little h, LYBXLU. Don't worry, you don't even have to take a picture of it because I'm providing a link to the entire presentation that you can download for free. Okay, I'm getting to that in a second. These are our partners, UNFCCC, UNESCO, the Young Lives Research Lab out of York University in Toronto, and the Foundation for Environmental Education and the Young Reporters for the Environment out of the University of Copenhagen, and of course, our new partner, International Youth Conference right here. So here is the link to download this entire presentation that you just saw. Okay, so it's tinyurl.com/YCR-presentation. And just to leave you on this very kind of positive up note, this is a little poster I created for the conference with a little message of inspiration here. Find ways of working with, not against, those in power. Okay, we all want the same world for ourselves, for our children, and for our parents. So let's collaborate with each other. The Youth Climate Report is an example of this philosophy, and today thousands of young people around the world are making meaningful contributions to global policy. Together, we can end the climate crisis. Divided, we cannot. And on that note, that's all I have for you. Thank you very much. And we have a bit of time. We've got about 10 minutes for questions, so please, yes. No, it does not. In fact, any kind of indigenous language, if you're thinking of that, is preferred by the UN. What you do have to provide is English subtitles. But yes, any language is acceptable. It is the UN after all. Yeah. Yeah.
Will there be any workshops as the deadline approaches, like an online meeting or Zoom meeting to kind of like?
No, not necessarily. It depends if there's a large enough crowd. You know, if there is a specific group like IYC, where there's thousands of people watching online, then we conduct a workshop like the one we just had. But if you're interested in it, you can download this particular workshop presentation and you can share it with your own groups. I'm totally fine with that, and so is the UN. Okay, this is an open source form of knowledge mobilization. Yes. the URL for the presentation. Okay, coming right up. There you go. It's tinyurl.com YCR-presentation. So if you type that in, you'll go directly to, I believe it's a Dropbox site, and then you can just download the presentation that you just saw. Anything else? Don't pack your bags yet, relax. Just like my students back home, we get near the end of class, you hear all the knapsacks rustling, Yes. Oh, sorry. Any other questions? You don't have to have questions. It's okay.
Maybe also something that I want to add, like
Yeah.
Canva, also Google is coming up with video version. Like there are some tools that are really, really easy to implement. Like you said that we have to go to Pixabay to download videos, but now like through Canva, you can just also generate AI videos according to what you want and then put them and be more creative. So there's a lot of tools, I think, out there.
And
that-
I'm glad you mentioned Canva because a lot of YCR filmmakers use Canva, but it's very important to know that they sometimes put a watermark on your project. We can't have that. No watermarks. Your project will be refused if it has a watermark on it. So if you want to use Canva, pay whatever fee it is to get rid of the watermarks. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I missed it. But like once we upload it to YouTube, is there like a specific link for us to submit the video or?
Yes, you go to the Youth Climate Report site, it'll tell you how to do it. But very quickly, I can just tell you the email address is ycrtv1@gmail.com.
Thank you.
And of course, there's contact with me. If you have any questions along the way or you want me to look at your film before you officially submit it, you can email me directly at TERRMA, Terma, TERRMA at yorku.ca. And I'm sure any of the organizers here would be happy to connect you with me if you can't remember that. Anything else? Yes, my email address, that address again, TERRMA at yorku, that's YORKU.ca. Email today. There you go. All right. So what bar are we going to? Anyways, that's it. Thank you very much again.
These videos also count for the summit of the future. Yeah, summit of the future.
It'll probably be used if the UN is involved at all. The operation of the building. So I can't keep track of all the conferences where it gets used at, but yeah.
They invite me to the side event.
Yeah. But just find someone that's already accredited, like an NGO, and just ask them. They're usually given 20 to 30 badges.